Yo, what is going on, everybody? It's Brave Cat here once again with another Frontier Signals update. So I've got quite a few things to go over here really quickly, starting off with the space weather, where it looks like we have finally had the coronal mass ejections starting to hit us, as well as the enhanced coronal hole stream. So we can see that down here. The solar wind has picked up, and the BZ was favoring the north, keeping pretty strong until all of a sudden now it started to dip southward. So that correlates with this KP of 6 that we see on here. So I'm going to have to go to NOAA to look at the rest of it. So again, here's the Enlil spiral for those events. So we had the first one, which, didn't really seem to do anything. But then we have the two coming after it here, which combined into one. And it looks like the density of that is pretty thick. So it looks like that is more or less what is starting to hit us now. But this could also just be the coronal hole stream itself. Not sure exactly what is coming first. And the auroras looking like that is looking pretty heavy as well, especially going into later tonight. So that's going to be picking up as well. And it looks like it has definitely influenced things on the earthquake side and potentially other weather events going on throughout the world. So we'll get into that here in a moment. Just going to take a quick peek at the sunspots here. So it doesn't look like much has really changed. We've got this region, which is now starting to depart, and it's stayed pretty much the same. So nothing really more than an M flare looks to be the potential coming out of there, and we haven't had anything new happen. So let's see, taking a look at the far side images here. It's like those three regions combined into two, and they should start facing us here within the next week. And so if we take a look at things earthquake-wise here, so this is kind of a 72-hour global report here on this website, and especially on the kind of southern end here, we can see we've had a pretty large influx. So we got 6s back in the mix. We have a handful of deep events, including some stuff going on up in Alaska, which seems a little bit strange. So down here near the Drake Passage, but not in the Drake Passage, we have a 6.6, which was originally reported as a 7. So if we go to that here, it's in the South Shetland Islands. Pretty shallow. Already have some aftershocks coming out of there. You can take a quick look at the origin data here, just to see what they have. So 89 stations on the one that we can actually see, and it looks like it does go up to a 7 and all the way down to a 5.5. But like I said, this was originally reported as a 7, and I've got a couple X posts to go through as well. But let's take a look at what was going on up in Alaska. So I mentioned the somewhat deep activity going on over here, but we have had 3 extremely deep earthquakes, so this is a little bit uncharacteristic of this area, it seems. So I got them pulled up here. So one of them is just a question mark. Don't really know what the magnitude is, but the depth maxed out at 750 kilometers. And then we have a 3.6, same thing, maxed out the depth. And then also a 2.5 at 600 kilometers. So this is definitely a bit of an interesting development. So we got to see if anything bigger erupts from this region, especially coming down the west coast here. I don't know how common this is to see really deep earthquakes like this in this region specifically, but I'd be willing to bet it's not very common. So that is something to watch out for. And other than that, there hasn't been really too much. A little bit more activity going over here. Actually, Greece has continued to spout off with this earthquake swarm here. So it goes up into the 4 range with even potentially, well, there has been a couple 5s lately here as well. But even just in the last, 24 hours or so, we've seen quite an influx back on this swarm going on here. And, 4 over here in Western Turkey as well. Another 3.4 over here by Italy. So definitely still a little bit of a roundhouse kick of seismic potential going on right now, especially right when we have the uptick on the space weather. So let's see. Take a look at this to get a closer view at Italy here. So we've had, generally more than usual activity, pretty much skirting along the entire kind of magma chamber region here, and just the plate itself, with the 3.4 being the highest magnitude in this region at this time. So let's see. When it comes to the volcanic activity, there's nothing reported out of this Sheveluk Kamchatka location, but there is plenty of other stuff going on as well. Most of it being, the same regions. So we got plenty of things on Indonesia. And then we have Popocate, Fuego, Sangay, Reventador. A lot of those volcanoes that are down here in Central and South America. And so most of the other stuff going on, there does seem to be a lot of flooding happening. So if we take things over here to X, where there's just some other tidbits of stuff, we have some potential flooding again in India. We have the Russians blowing up frozen rivers here to try to prevent some sort of flooding from these rivers because the ice buildup. Here's that 7, like I said, so it was originally a 7 and downgraded to a 6. And then got a hailstorm here in Nepal. Again, some flooding to go along with it. Down over here in Hawaii, actually, some sort of dam broke over there. So we have flooding going on there. We have flooding going out from Turkey. So that's pretty major. And we also have flooding in Brazil. This one looks like the worst. You have an entire vehicle floating away. The entire street's covered. So pretty major flooding there. And then also in Indonesia, this one also looks pretty bad. Some really fast flowing water. You wouldn't want to get caught in that. That water is pretty powerful when it's going at those speeds. Even if it's just ankle deep, that can easily sweep you away. And there's even an evacuation for the dam that broke over in Hawaii on the Oahu Island. So, and that'll pretty much cover what I was going to do for today here. So, yeah, lots of stuff going on. And it all just has that perfect timing with the sun's activity as well. So I'm going to keep monitoring this. Looks like things are going to ramp up here, and we're already just immediately in a G1 storm, but we could easily see this go up into G2 and possibly even further. So anyways, though, that'll do it for today's update. Hope you all enjoyed, got something out of it. Please like and subscribe for more. Share this video if you dare, and I'll catch you all in the next.